For nearly 250 years, from the 9th century to the 11th, the Vikings ruled Northern Europe. They were formidable warriors who swept through the Middle Ages, plundering everything in their path. But the Vikings were great seafarers too. They developed ingenious shipbuilding techniques, and they were skilled navigators. These skills allowed them to have a widespread impact through exploration and trade. Ships were the beating heart and the lifeblood of every Viking village. Kings journeyed to the afterlife aboard their revered vessels to reach Valhalla. But the Vikings' complex burial rites remain shrouded in mystery. The discovery of a new vessel in Gjellestad, Norway, immediately fueled international fascination with the Vikings. It was a ship of extraordinary size, and it was buried not far from the capital of Oslo. Who was buried here, and why? What is the story behind this extraordinary find?
It's a great offer to, in a way, sacrifice a boat like that. So I think it must have been a very powerful person.
The Gjellestad site is like a 1,000-year-old crime scene, where time and centuries of human activity have altered most of the evidence. But there are still many clues to be found. Using new technology to probe deep time, archaeologists will uncover answers that change our perception of the Vikings forever. Our story begins in 2018 in Norway, on farmland in Gjellestad, south of Oslo. This region is home to Gjell Mountain, one of the largest burial sites in Norway. Several important Vikings have been laid to rest under this strange, ancient dome. But archaeologists suspected that more remains were still buried underneath the mound. So they began a new assessment. Non-invasive technology called GPR was used to survey the site. Electromagnetic waves enable scientists to see the outlines of things buried for centuries. When the shape of a boat became clearly visible, everyone was surprised. After this incredible discovery, the Museum of Cultural History at the University of Oslo launched a new excavation in June 2019. Christian Rodsrud was the archaeologist in charge.
You
can see that the boat extends from that point in the south to that one in the north, where the bow of the boat is. So the vessel is approximately 20 meters long.
The team soon encountered the first parts of the ship.
We dug 60 centimeters into the ground. You can see the remains of wooden planks. It goes up here, then there's another plank, then it goes up again, and so forth.
The GPR revealed the vessel's backbone, the keel. Now Christian needed samples to determine how deep they would need to dig.
There, we found some wood.
The deepest part of the ship's keel is 30 inches deep. So the upper parts of the boat had likely been destroyed during the hundreds of years of agriculture on the land. But it's still a tremendous discovery, an unknown ancient boat buried beneath this fertile field. Only very powerful Viking leaders were interred with their ships. Food, weapons, jewelry, and even animals often accompanied the deceased for their final journey. A funeral chamber was built around the body. And finally, the huge coffin would be covered with earth and branches. Before the Gjellestad boat was discovered, only 3 other ships of similar size had been found in Norway. The Gjellestad in 1880, the Tuna in 1867, and the Oseberg in 1903. More than a century passed before the incredible Gjellestad boat came to light. The Gjellestad, Tuna, and Oseberg ships are on display at the Viking Ship Museum in Oslo. Professor Jan Bill is the curator of the museum.
Most of our knowledge about the old Viking ships, those from the early part of the Viking Age, comes from the ships that we have here in this museum, and especially from this one, the Oseberg ship. The Oseberg ship is the best preserved Viking ship in the world, and it's also the oldest one that we can really study in detail, at least until now. It was used as a burial ship for 2 women. The ship burial itself was tremendous. It was filled with beautiful artifacts, mostly made of wood.
The Oseberg Mound was excavated in 1904, and it revealed an exceptionally well-preserved longboat, 72 feet long and 16 feet wide. A beautifully decorated sleigh had been crushed into thousands of pieces by the weight of the mound, so it needed to be reassembled. Remarkably carved animal heads provided evidence that Viking craftsmen were masters of their art. A horse-drawn cart, used for religious processions, was also found in the treasure trove. It was richly decorated with characters and animals also found on textiles. The carvings on the bow and stern of the Oseberg boat are the most intricate and fantastic ever found on a Viking ship.
When we're looking at the Oseberg ship, we can really get a picture of how the Gjellestad ship must have looked. We'll probably have the same features also with these beautiful decorations which have been molded along the edges of the planking. And we'll also kind of imagine how the Gjellestad ship also must have had some kind of stem construction, which probably have rised just as the one from the Oseberg ship.
The Oseberg was built in 820 AD on Norway's west coast, and it offers a wealth of information about the Viking era. But we still need to know more about how these warriors arrived in Scandinavia. The investigation moves to northern Norway in Tromsø, in the Arctic Circle. the Arctic University of Norway, storerooms reveal rare archaeological finds that help explain how and when the Vikings populated Scandinavia.
This is a paddle, and it's one of the earliest boat finds we have from northern Norway. It's about 2,500 years before Christ. And here's another paddle from almost exactly the same age. And this was found in northern Troms, to the north of Tromsø. The evidence we have from the earliest settlement sites along the coast is that colonization of the Norwegian coast took place very rapidly around 11,500 years ago, all the way from the southern end to the northernmost part of the coast was settled within a period of maybe 200 to 300 years. So it's a amazingly rapid colonization. This was after the glaciers receded from the shoreline, so that people could travel along the coast. But when their focus was so much towards the ocean, they didn't need that much land. So even though the ice may have been close to the shoreline, using their boats, they could travel rapidly and use the marine resources. So boats are a critical element to that. They're essential tools to survival.
The Vikings perfected their navigational skills throughout the 8th century to become extraordinary seafarers. Paddles quickly became powerful oars, capable of propelling larger and larger ships.
What we have here is a complete rowing oar from a Viking age ship. The early ones from the pre-Roman Iron Age, they were experimenting to some stage. And during this period, they'd found the exact form that they used. These were revolutionary things that changed the whole approach to using boats and their potential and what they could accomplish.
The earliest ancestors of the Vikings settled along Norway's coast. By the 8th century, the Vikings were capable of exploiting everything the ocean had to offer, including fish, marine mammals, and crustaceans. The sea and its bounty was essential to the daily existence of the Vikings.